Tradition runs deep here. This child is only following in the footsteps of his forefathers. They are fishermen, and the sea or other water bodies are their natural habitat. There is a thread that ties the present with the future, and it is often children like this. From one generation to the other, fishing for his forefathers has been a cottage industry, but times have changed and it has grown into a global industry with new ways of doing things, some of them not so good for the profession of his forefathers. This little boy must learn the new ways of the industry for him to have a future. However, if the current practice in the waters of West Africa continues, the young boy may be learning the ropes in vain. The future of fishermen and the fishing industry in West Africa could be hanging on the ropes if governments do not intervene. This is the major fishing port in Cotonou, capital of Benin Republic. The voices here are many. Fishermen come and go from all over West Africa, sailing under their nation's flag, or sometimes any flag that catches their fancy. It is a community as fishing is often a family industry. The men fish and the women trade. The children, well, they find their place as they learn the ropes. This community of fishermen and traders in Cotonou is more like a micro-West Africa. Along the coast of West Africa, there are many communities like this, hugging the beaches of the Atlantic Ocean and the many inland waterways. Fishing is believed to provide sustainable livelihood for about 3 million people in West Africa. 66-year-old Samba Gueye is Senegalese. He spent most of his life at sea as an artisanal fisherman, but now is a patron of sorts.
The number of people who carry out this activity directly and indirectly are about 600 to 650,000 in that sector.
While many here are engaged in artisanal fishing, there are many others that are engaged in industrial fishing with fleets. Koulibaly Dugoteni speaks for them.
We
have 120 industrial boats fishing on the waters of Senegal and in the waters of some countries in the sub-region, with which we have fisheries agreement. We work mainly for exportation for foreign markets like European Union, Japan, the United States, Canada, and also for African markets. 98% of the industrial production of Senegal is exported. That is why every year we export an average of 100,000 tons of products. And we have CFA turnover, which is around 150 billion FCFA. We employ a lot of people. That is how we contribute to the social stability of Senegal.
Annually, West Africa produces about 2.56 million tons of fishery products, out of which it exports 550,000 tons for about $900 million. In the global business, this is like a drop in the ocean, and West Africa can do much better. In fact, the waters of West Africa are rich in fishing resources. While the region does not possess the technology to establish its fish stock, experts agree that the fish diversity in the waters of West Africa is one of the richest in the world.
Quite a lot of fish are bound in our water bodies, and in fact it has happened that some of our states in the West African region have been able to tap the benefits of these fisheries resources, whereas others have not been able to tap.
This has made the fishery sector a strategic component of national economies. Many countries in the region have fishery agreements with various countries which have brought over 1,000 foreign vessels into West African waters to fish massively. The countries, however, seldom have the capacity to mount proper surveillance of the fishing operations of the foreign fleet. The consequence often is that only 10% report their catches, representing a massive loss in revenue to affected countries. In spite of this, the fishery sector accounts for between 10 and 30% of budget revenue of several countries, especially for coastal states with considerably higher production levels. One of these countries is Guinea-Bissau, which has species of high commercial value.
The
fisheries sector is really improving, and it gives its contribution to the country's budget in the order of 30%.
We have the tuna fishes, especially in the Nigerian marine water bodies. The tuna fishes is so attractive to other worlds, and even these other, we have freshwater species also that are cherished. We talk about the tilapia that is attracting a lot of foreign markets. People culture it and they export in other countries. So we have a lot of fisheries potentials that are attractive to the foreign fleets.
Most of the high-value species go to the fishing companies, but the pelagic species, which predominantly the bonga, etmalosa, and the sardinella, are destined for local consumption, and also some are smoked for the region, Nigeria, Mali, and so on, Guinea-Conakry. There's a lot of export for this sector, because the companies are, the products from the companies are mostly for the export market. We are lucky that 4 of our fishing companies are certified to export to the European Union. But most of the traditional smoked ones are for the West African region.
Despite this great potential and its capacity to feed national economies, a storm may be brewing over West Africa's fishing sector. There is no better place to find out about this gathering storm and what exactly is happening in the waters of West Africa than among the fishing community. Though the language may differ, the story the fishermen tell these days is much the same. Getting a good catch of fish is proving more difficult.
So now it makes the fish now never okay here. So we travel to Lagos and then to make the fishing, let me say 5 days or 6 days before we arrive here.
Our fishing production has reduced compared to 15 years ago or 20 years ago. Before,